healthcare that profits from sickness. The pharmaceutical industry does not exist to cure you. A healthy person is a bad customer. A chronically ill patient is a lifelong asset. People aren't cured, they are managed. One pill leads to another. Every solution creates a new problem. Behind the white coats and laboratories stand corporations, profit machines. They fund the research. They influence the education of future doctors. They decide what's considered scientifically accepted. And everything natural, ancient, or holistic, laughed at, suppressed, made illegal. Health is not the goal. Profit is. Education, the factory of obedient minds. When a child enters school, they are still dreaming, imagining, asking questions. But within a few years, the spark is gone. Instead of encouraging curiosity, they teach obedience. Instead of creativity, they enforce templates. Instead of critical thinking, they demand memorization. School doesn't teach kids how to think. It teaches them what to think. Why aren't we taught about emotions, about money, about psychology, stress, confidence, or spiritual development? Because the system doesn't want awake minds. The system wants workers. It wants obedience. Control through information. Media as the new drug. Today, the most powerful weapon is your attention. Your focus is currency. Media doesn't inform, it programs. Every headline, every video, every post is crafted to trigger fear, anger, envy, confusion. And when you're emotionally triggered, you're weak, vulnerable, easily manipulated, easily sold to, easily controlled. Social media is the new drug, something between a mirror and a weapon. You show yourself and lose yourself. You compare and never feel enough. Dopamine hits, likes, fake value. Everything is designed to pull you in and keep you there. The longer you stare, the deeper the programming. Control from the shadows. Who pulls the strings? Most people think the world is run by politicians, but politicians are actors. Behind the stage are the true players. Corporations, banks, tech giants, secret societies, ancient families, entities that never appear in headlines. You don't vote for them. They are not candidates. They are architects. They own everything: energy, land, media, education, health, law, war. It's all connected, one network, and nothing is random. Every choice you are given is between two illusions, both leading to the same outcome: more power for them, less freedom for you. A game we never chose. The greatest trick of the game is that most players don't even know they're playing. They think they're free. They think they chose their path. But most of their decisions were made for them. What to eat, what to believe, what to love, what to fear. Everything was installed. And what is truly you is buried deep, nearly unreachable. This game is not new. It's just more refined. In the past, they used chains. Now they use entertainment. Once they used force. Now we willingly enslave ourselves to screens. The exit begins with awareness. If you've read this far, something in you already knows. Something in you is awakening. The system is designed to keep you asleep. But this book exists to show you the crack in the wall. You can't escape this game overnight. But once you see the architecture, you can't unsee it. And that is the first step to freedom. Chapter 2. Manifestation, the forbidden technology of reality. Your thoughts aren't yours, they're frequencies. Let's start here. You are not your brain. Your brain is a receiver, like a radio. It doesn't create thoughts, it tunes into them. You are an antenna, and your thoughts are frequencies you allow in. If you're surrounded by fear, stress, noise, addiction, rage, violence, those are the signals you absorb. And anything you manifest from that state is born from distortion. That's why most people manifest chaos instead of dreams. The secret of manifestation isn't desire. It's alignment with the source frequency. Nobody tells you this. That's why most fail. The matrix reacts when you try to exit. When you begin using manifestation as a way to wake up, the system responds. Suddenly, phones glitch. People around you shift. Strange dreams start. Unexplainable problems show up. You feel like you're being watched. You experience anxiety or unusual symptoms. New Age spirituality is a trap. Now here's the real shocker. The whole New Age movement, law of attraction, affirmations, love and light only, is a spiritual layer of the matrix, programmed to sedate you, to keep you feeling good and never looking deeper, to keep you from discovering the dark laws behind the light. Because real manifestation requires facing the darkness, your own and the world's. You must purge your system. You must cancel the unconscious contracts you've made with the matrix. Fear, guilt, self-sacrifice, self-sabotage. New Age says, think positive. The architects say, clean your signal. New Age gives you affirmations. The forbidden architecture demands initiation. Real manifestation opens. Glitches in the game. When you truly begin to manifest from a conscious state, unexplainable things happen. People vanish from your life overnight. Reality reshuffles itself like a simulation glitch. Impossible situations solve themselves. Certain objects or places feel heavy or charged. You start seeing signs, symbols, repeating numbers. You feel events before they happen. Why? Because when you truly manifest, you're entering the code layer of reality. And reality sees you, not as a person, but as a signal, a programmer. And that's why the architects never wanted you to know. That's why the real knowledge is buried in symbols, rituals, ancient texts, secret languages. They already decoded the game. You're just waking up. The deeper layer, manifestation as energy warfare. Here's the final level. Manifestation is not just creation, it's war. An energy war. When you manifest from freedom, clarity, sovereignty, your energy becomes sharp. Your signal leaves the simulation layer. You are no longer a part of the program. You become untrackable. And then the system tries to pull you back in. Through distractions, drama, fear, toxic food, addictions, not to punish you, but to lower your frequency. Because a high frequency distorts the simulation. It breaks the illusion. Conclusion: manifestation is magic, or a weapon. Manifestation is not about desire. It's about code. It's about frequency. It's about conscious warfare. You're manifesting every day. The only question is, what and for whom? This chapter isn't about dreams. It's a manual for hacking the game. The next chapter, you won't read it as the same person. Chapter 3. The ego was created to protect you and trap you. Every system has a firewall. Every simulation needs a safety protocol. And every human, before they could walk, was installed with a protective interface, something to filter reality, avoid trauma, and organize identity. That filter, that interface, it's what you call the ego. You think it's you, but it's not. It's the mask you were forced to wear so you could survive this world. The ego is both a shield and a prison. And the moment you start awakening, it turns from protection into your warden. The ego. Software. You mistake for self. The ego isn't evil. It's not bad. It was created for a reason. Imagine a child born into a chaotic world. No rules, noise, violence, conditional love, pain, confusion. How does that child survive? It builds a program. If I act like this, they won't abandon me. If I get good grades, I'll be worthy. If I hide my emotions, I'll be safe. If I become useful, I'll be loved. Ego and the architecture of the game. Now here's the secret. The ego isn't just your own invention. It's part of the game's operating system. Let that sink in. The ego isn't just your personal trauma response. It's a built-in limitation tool designed by the architecture itself, a kind of biological firewall to keep human consciousness fragmented, small, and easily controlled. Because a being without ego is uncontrollable. It cannot be shamed. It cannot be manipulated. It doesn't need approval. It doesn't respond to fear. And such a being is a threat to the system. The ego is maintained by external hooks. Your ego isn't self-sustaining. It needs feedback loops to survive. It needs others to confirm it. It needs likes, validation, status, identity roles, achievements. It needs to matter in other people's eyes. Remove that, and it starts to panic. That panic, that breakdown, is your real self trying to wake up. But the Matrix knows how to stabilize the ego. School rewards obedience. Social media rewards attention. Culture rewards masks. Fear keeps you inside the system. This is how the ego is both the prisoner and the prison guard. It protects you from pain, but also from truth. Ego death is not the goal. Ego integration. There's a popular myth in spiritual circles. Kill the ego. Wrong. You don't kill the ego. That's just another ego trick, wanting to be enlightened faster than others. You don't kill the ego. You expose it, understand it, integrate it. You take off the mask, look it in the eyes, and say, I see you. You were just trying to help. That moment, that's when real transformation begins. Because then, for the first time, you are not reacting. You are choosing. Ego and identity. The great lie. Most people don't know who they are. They know who they were taught to be. They wear it like armor. I'm a doctor. I'm an introvert. I'm a man. I'm a victim. I'm successful. I'm broken. These are just roles in the game. Avatars. Programs. Who are you without your story? Who are you without your trauma badges? Who are you when there's nothing left to prove? The system hopes you never ask these questions, because once you do, the architecture starts to crack. The ego fears stillness. Try this experiment. Sit in silence, no phone, no music, no input, just stillness. What happens? The ego panics. It starts throwing thoughts at you like knives. You should be doing something. This is pointless. What's the point of life anyway? You're wasting time. Why? Because in stillness, the mask starts to dissolve, and what lies beneath the ego is your real self, and your real self doesn't obey. The ego mirrors the collective. The collective ego, society, behaves just like the individual one. It fears death, craves attention, avoids truth, and builds illusions to survive. That's why systems go to war to protect their narrative. That's why religions collapse when questioned. That's why people react with rage when you challenge their identity. The ego, individual or collective, will destroy everything before it admits it was wrong. And that is the final trap. Conclusion. Ego was made to keep you safe, but not free. The ego saved you as a child. It kept you sane in a broken world. But now you're not a child. You're waking up. And the same program that once protected you is now in your way. You don't destroy it. You see through it. You thank it. And you step past it. This is the true initiation, the day you stop mistaking your mask for your face. And then, something ancient awakens in you. Something before language, before trauma, before the game. Chapter 4. The Architects, they who feed on diseased flesh. You feel it, don't you? That this world isn't just wrong, it's poisoned by design. Not just corrupt, but engineered to break you. What if I told you there are beings behind the curtain, not human, not divine, not even alive the way we understand life, and their hunger is not for food, it's for human suffering. They are not the politicians. They are not the billionaires. Those are puppets. The true architects never show their faces. Who are they? Call them what you want. The watchers, the architects, the hidden keepers, the parasites, the ancient ones, the shadows between dimensions. They don't need names. Their presence is felt in every system built to slowly rot your body, dull your mind, and trap your soul. They don't control the world with force. They use design. They embed sickness into structure, pain into policy, decay into culture. Why everything makes you sick on purpose. Look around. The food is fake. The medicine is poison. The water is altered. The air is heavy. The light is artificial. The frequency is off. The noise never stops. The education is hypnosis. The entertainment is ritual. You think it's progress. But this is the slow sterilization of the human soul. They don't want you dead. They want you sick enough to need them, but weak enough to never fight back. This is farming. But you are not crops. You are currency. They feed on diseased states. These beings do not eat like us. They feed on vibration, specifically low vibration. Fear, guilt, despair, envy, rage, hopelessness. When you're in these states, your energy field becomes unstable and leaky. And through that leak, they drink. They don't want your enlightenment. They want your fragmentation. They've been here before us. These forces aren't new. They were here long before human civilization. Ancient Sumerians called them Anunnaki. Gnostics called them archons. Native shamans called them sky predators. In secret Vatican texts, non-corporeal dominions. In whispers among ancient monks, echoes from the failed worlds. And across all accounts, the pattern is the same. They arrive when a species forgets itself. When we lose connection to the soul, they step in. And they don't take over by force. They become the system. They program the flesh to trap the light. Human DNA was once sacred. It was a crystal interface with the higher realms. But they modified it. Now, you are born with blocks in your biology. You are taught to love your chains. You are trained to fight yourself. What they fear most is not rebellion. It's remembrance. Because when you remember who you are, your frequency becomes toxic to them. That's why they teach you to mock spirituality, to doubt intuition, to worship logic, numbers, science, all of which they own. Medicine or spellcraft. They give you pills, vaccines, boosters, diagnoses, labels, disorders. They say it's for health, but beneath that is something darker. Most mainstream medicine isn't healing, it's binding. Each drug codes your frequency. Each chemical affects your light body. Each treatment seals another door. They don't just want you sick, they want you disconnected from the healing source, permanently. True healing is frequency, breath, sound, and consciousness. And that's exactly what they've erased. They use you against you. The final trick of these entities is the cruelest. They turn you into your own warden. They teach you to doubt your instincts, hate your body, distrust joy, punish your emotions, stay small, obey the broken system. So even when there's no cage around you, you still don't fly. You are imprisoned not by walls, but by programming. They use you against you. The final trick of these entities is the cruelest. They turn you into your own warden. They teach you to doubt your instincts, hate your body, distrust joy, punish your emotions, stay small, obey the broken system. So even when there's no cage around you, you still don't fly. You are imprisoned not by walls, but by programming. And the moment you question that program, the game shakes. Conclusion: the disease is real, but you are the antidote. You were born into a farm, into a world designed to use you, but buried inside you is the original blueprint, the code before the corruption, the light before the disease, and when you activate it, they cannot follow you. This chapter isn't to scare you, it's to remind you. You're not crazy for feeling the sickness. You're remembering the truth. The system was never sick. It was engineered to be. But you were made to heal it. And the next chapter will show you how. Chapter 5. The Virus of Fear. How the World Was Rewritten in 2020. Some say it was a pandemic. Others say it was a plan. But those who paid attention knew it was a test. Not of immune systems, but of obedience. Something happened in 2020 that split reality in two. Not because of a virus, but because of what came with it. The censorship, the isolation, the digital surveillance, the injection campaigns, the global uniformity, the silence of science, the collapse of critical thinking. Fear was the real infection. Was it about health or control? Let's ask the forbidden questions. Why were healthy people locked in their homes? Why was questioning the vaccine equal to heresy? Why were deaths exaggerated with died with COVID instead of from it? Why did they suppress cheap, effective treatments? Why were the same talking points repeated word for word across all news outlets? The answer is simple. It wasn't about saving lives. It was about seeing how much they could take before anyone would say, enough. The biggest money laundering event in human history. While the world panicked, trillions were printed, redistributed, and vanished. Small businesses closed forever. Tech giants doubled their empires. Pharmaceutical companies posted record profits. Governments funneled billions to emergency partners. NGOs became money sponges with zero oversight. People became addicted to government aid and too weak to resist. They called it a crisis. But behind the scenes, it was a heist. And the price wasn't just economic, it was spiritual. Predictive programming. They told you before it happened. Strange, isn't it? How many movies, games, and series had already told us, a global virus will lock down the world, mandatory vaccines will be pushed, digital passports will be required, contact tracing will become normal, people will live in fear of breathing. Go back to Contagion, 2011, Utopia, UK and US versions, Resident Evil 5 for Vendetta, The Simpsons. Even children's cartoons hinted at masks and bio-threats. Why? Because the subconscious can be pre-programmed. By the time it happens, your mind already accepts it. You've seen it before. You've felt it. It makes sense. But it wasn't prophecy. It was preparation. A world rewritten by a single narrative. For the first time in history, every country said the same lines. Every expert read from the same script. Every dissenter was called dangerous. Every solution was controlled. How? Why? Because the virus was never the point. The point was to unite the globe under one belief. And when you control belief, you control behavior. The masks weren't medical, they were psychological. The lockdowns weren't about health, they were about obedience conditioning. The vaccines weren't about immunity, they were about compliance metrics, the needle as symbol. Whether the vaccine worked or didn't, that's not the core issue. The shot was symbolic. It asked you to prove loyalty, to trust the machine, to ignore your intuition, to silence your doubts, to accept risk without question, to label your own neighbors as unsafe if they didn't comply. That's not medicine. That's ritual initiation. And millions said yes, not because they believed, but because they were afraid to say no. The shaming ritual. If you dared to speak, you were censored, labeled a threat, deplatformed, fired, attacked. Even doctors, scientists, and Nobel Prize winners were shut down. Truth became a threat to order. And once you make truth dangerous, you've successfully created a religion, not one of spirit, but of system. Conclusion: if you didn't wake up then, will you ever? You weren't crazy for asking questions. You were awake, and those who mocked you weren't evil, just afraid. The world didn't break in 2020. It revealed itself. It showed how fast truth can be erased, how deep control runs, how willingly freedom is traded for false safety. But also, it showed that not everyone bows. Some remembered. And those people? They carry something powerful now, not just resistance, but memory. And in the next chapter, we'll explore how to weaponize that memory. Chapter 6. Forbidden History. The War on Memory and the Shape of the Lie. They lied to you about your body. They lied to you about your food. They lied to you about medicine, time, emotion. But the biggest lie was about where you are and what came before. Because if you knew that, you'd never believe another word they said. The shape of the lie. From the moment you're born, they show you a ball, a spinning globe, flying through space, a tiny dot in an endless void. But look around. Does the earth curve beneath your feet? Does water bend? Does the horizon move with the plane? Can you feel motion? Of course not, Because you were taught to ignore what you see and believe what you're told. Why tell you it's a globe? Because a spinning ball in infinite space makes you feel tiny, accidental, insignificant. Just one of many on a rock among billions, easily controlled, easily replaced. But what if Earth was a closed system, a plane with edges, a realm with a dome, created with purpose? Then suddenly, you're not a cosmic accident. You're a central figure in a designed experience, and they can't have that, because a human who feels divine cannot be ruled. The great mud flood, the reset, they erased. Ever wonder why no one remembers anything before 1800? Why so many ancient buildings look impossible for the time they were built? Why history feels recycled? It wasn't just hidden, it was wiped. There was a global cataclysm. Some call it the mud flood, a reset event that buried entire civilizations under mud, ash, and silence. Entire cities underground. Giant structures unexplainable by modern tools. Foundations of old buildings 10 meters below ground. Forgotten technologies. Energy systems that didn't burn fuel but used vibration. We didn't evolve from caves. We were de-evolved from a higher state. Evolution is a cage. You are told, you are an ape that got lucky. You evolved from chaos. Consciousness is a side effect of biology. You have no purpose. Intelligence is just chemical coincidence. This isn't science, it's a curse. Because if you believe you're just a smart animal, you act like one. You become easy to control. You become small, disposable. But the truth? You were never an ape. You are a being of light and memory, stuck in flesh, stuck in amnesia, stuck in a game. The phantom architects, builders of the lost world. Look closer at the old world. Cathedrals that amplify frequency, domes that collect energy, obelisks aligned with stars, giant doorways for beings of a different size, patterns repeating across continents, with no contact. Who built this? Not primitive men with chisels, but a civilization that understood sacred geometry, resonance, sound, light, and spirit. They were erased, and their structures were renamed, castles, palaces, old government buildings. But they weren't for kings. They were for energy, healing, connection. The system rebranded them to make you forget. The script of mockery. Whenever someone questions the official story, you believe Earth is flat? Haha, idiot. You think ancient tech was real? Conspiracy nut? You think evolution is fake? What are you? Religious. This is programmed mockery. You are not allowed to ask. Not because the questions are stupid, but because they're dangerous. Because the moment you say, "What if this is all wrong?" you might start remembering, and memory is the biggest threat to control. NASA. The church of the new religion space is the new heaven. Astronauts are saints, satellites are angels, telescopes are the prophets, and NASA, the new priesthood. They show you fake stars, CGI planets, green screens, zero-gravity wires, and you never question it, because the globe was burned into your mind before you could speak. Meanwhile, they hide the real sky, the firmament, the dome, the stars that move with meaning, not randomness. If you forget where you are, you forget who you are. The ultimate goal of these lies? To sever your roots, to erase your origin, to trap you in confusion, because a human with no history is a human with no future. You become reprogrammable. You live in fear. You trust experts. You laugh at your own instincts. You mock what your soul remembers. But deep inside, something aches, because you know you were meant for more. Chapter 7. The Eye Within, Unlocking the Forgotten Gate. They taught you to look outward, but the real power begins when you look inward. Inside your skull lies a secret, a sacred organ, not just biological, but cosmic, small as a grain of rice, but capable of showing you worlds they don't want you to see. Its name? The pineal gland, also known as the third eye. What is the third eye? You've seen the symbol. In ancient Egypt, Eye of Horus. In Hindu tradition, bindi on the forehead. In esoteric art, Mason lodges, occult manuscripts, even on the dollar bill, the all-seeing eye. It's not just metaphor. The pineal gland is a real organ, shaped like a pine cone, located in the center of your brain, between the hemispheres. Modern science says it controls melatonin, sleep cycle, that's all. But ancient civilizations knew different. They believed this eye sees beyond physical reality, connects you to higher dimensions, receives intuitive downloads, allows remote vision, telepathy, and direct knowing, the eye that doesn't look outward, but inward, into the quantum field. Who had it open? Throughout time, some individuals walked with this eye wide open. They were Nikola Tesla, said he received visions of machines before he built them, claimed his ideas came from beyond. Leonardo da Vinci sketched the brain and pineal gland centuries before science could understand them. Pythagoras taught about sound, geometry, and soul migration, all from visions he claimed were shown to him. Buddha reached enlightenment through inner vision, not intellect. Ancient pharaohs preserved pine cones, sacred blue lotus, and ritual sound chambers to activate the gland. Mystics, shamans, prophets, always guided by the eye of God within. These were not lucky guesses. They accessed a forgotten sense buried inside all of us. Why did they shut it down? If this gland is so powerful, why don't we use it? Because it was intentionally poisoned. Enter fluoride in water and toothpaste, heavy metals in food, artificial lights disrupting sleep cycles, screen addiction and overstimulation, chemical warfare through air, soil, sound, all designed to calcify the pineal gland, to make it hard, blocked, dormant. Why? Because a human with an open third eye can't be controlled, can feel lies before they're spoken, can download truth without permission, can see beyond the simulation, can remember past lives, real history, and even exit the system. So they turned your divine antenna into a dusty relic, but it can be reawakened. How to activate the third eye? You don't need drugs. You need discipline plus intention. Breath, deep nose breathing, pranayama, floods the pineal gland with oxygen. Rhythmic breath creates internal pressure that stimulates its vibration. Sound, frequencies like 528 Hz, 936 Hz, and 7.83 Hz unlock vibratory access. Chanting Om directly resonates with the skull cavity around the pineal gland. Ancient temples were sound chambers designed for this purpose. Darkness, total darkness for hours or days, reactivates DMT production from the gland. Some monks meditate in caves for weeks to trigger the eye naturally. Detox, eliminate fluoride, use boron, iodine, spirulina, zeolite to decalcify. Fasting and raw foods accelerate cleaning. Avoid toxic media, fear, lust, stress. They clog the spiritual signal. Focus. Close your eyes. Look inward, slightly upward, between the brows. Focus attention on that spot for 10 to 20 minutes. Over time, flashes, visions, dreams, and clarity appear. This isn't fiction. It's technology for the soul. What happens when it opens? You'll feel strange at first. Vibrations in the forehead, lucid dreams, déjà vu increases, strong intuition, seeing things others don't, sensitivity to lies, noise, crowds. Eventually, you may experience out-of-body experiences, clarity beyond intellect, sudden understanding of ancient symbols, synchronicities daily, downloads of knowledge that feel like memory, contact with your higher self, or beyond. This is not imagination. It's the removal of interference. The hidden blueprint in our skull. The pineal gland sits at the geometric center of your brain, surrounded by cerebrospinal fluid, perfectly insulated. It's the temple inside the temple. In Egyptian art, the Eye of Horus is anatomically accurate to the pineal system. They weren't drawing gods. They were showing you your forgotten tech. And once you turn it on, you begin to see, not just look, why they fear it. A man with a weapon is dangerous. A man with sight beyond the veil is unstoppable. With your third eye open, you break time loops. You remember who you are. You stop being predictable. You no longer feed the machine. You begin to access realms they cannot track or control. And most of all, you stop obeying, because obedience only survives in blindness. Final words. You were meant to see. You were not born to stare at screens. You were born to see the code behind the world. You are not limited by the five senses. You were gifted with a sixth, and it's been asleep. It's time to wake it. And once it's open, the game changes forever. The end.